Hi, everyone. How are you? It's so good to be back with you again for another year, another great catechetical year. We're a little late in getting started because things have kind of changed around a little bit. I am, as you know, or maybe you haven't known, but what's happened these last few years, I've been teaching my grandchildren, and it's been wonderful. And I've been able to share with you on Tuesdays what happened in our lesson on Mondays. Well, that kind of changed because they're in a confirmation preparation program, and the pastor was insistent that they be part of the parish program. I get it, but we all miss it. So, but we have to do right now what we have to do until maybe some changes can happen later on. But for now, this is what we're doing. So we decided to change up a little bit on our little recordings on Tuesdays, and just so that we all stay in the loop and just to take another, you know, perspective on what we do in terms of teaching. So as you remember, when we talked about the children, I told you how they reacted to things and how the lesson went and what might have been new that we did. So because we don't have that, I don't have that advantage of teaching the children, we decided to evolve or recognize the evolution that we're doing. We're always changing. We should be changing to make things and it good for all of us and to adjust to changes and yet keeping us sharp in terms of our catechetical abilities and what we relay and hand on in the faith. So what we decided to do in changing this approach, uh, I will talk to you on Tuesdays before the coming Sunday about those Sundays readings. This is a year for you. This is a year for the catechist. This is a year for you to think more about the gospel readings, all the readings, and you'll see I've changed that as well. I decided not just to speak to the gospel, but to speak about all of the readings. You'll see that in the pages of the FLOM, our FLOM website. And the reason I did that, I felt, the gospel is wonderful. It's great. And we need to we need to concentrate on that. But the Old Testament readings and the other readings of the New Testament and the Psalms provide their own richness that I don't want to miss out on. And also the reality that they're all connected and they're done so in a way so that a major theme comes through for that particular Sunday, for that particular day, or that particular season. So this is what we're going to be doing. So we're going to be talking, I'm going to be talking with you. In a way, I wish we could have a dialogue about this, but until that day comes, uh, then if you have any questions about what I've said, if you want to discuss something, you have a question about it, you want to add to it, we'll figure out, either you email me at maryland@flom.com, or maybe we'll figure out doing something with a blog or going down the road. But if your suggestions are more than welcome, please, email me so we know, we want to do this as best as we can. So I'm going to talk about the readings for this coming Sunday. And in our first reading, we see that Solomon is praying for wisdom. It's from the Book of Wisdom. And what he is saying, basically, and what comes out of that reading is that everything else, all our material things, they're not important like wisdom. And sometimes I think in our generation and those we teach, those young people, those young disciples we teach, are not really exposed so much, uh, not so much at home, but out in the world, to the things that are important, uh, the morality that's important, the wisdom that's important, that may somehow we don't take seriously or we take for granted. And I think we need to follow more and look closely to Solomon and his prayer for wisdom. They say as you get older, you become wiser. I suppose, we certainly have more experience, but when those times come, when we really need to make a decision or we really need to pray about something, the wisdom comes important. It's not the material things. And that theme you'll see carries throughout the other readings in the gospel today. The psalm also is a reflection of Solomon's prayer. if you read that as well. And I personally love the Psalms. I think all 150 of them are wonderful, and they really capture who we are as human beings. And they are so filled with emotion and express our emotions. Uh, I think they're a great comfort. They can be when we're dealing with um, going through rough patches in our lives, or we want to rejoice as well. So it's kind of like you have a sense of somebody out there is feeling the same thing, or it's just, I just love them. And I think they're very good in validating our own emotions, which is important. And of course, we have our second reading and from Hebrews, I believe. And let's see. Yep, from Hebrews. And again, recognizing that Jesus is our model for this as well. And then when we get to this gospel can be really, maybe challenging is the word. This rich man comes up to Jesus and says, what do I need to do to follow you? And he says, you have to sell everything, give it to the poor, or not even sell it, but give it away, give your possessions away to the poor and follow me. That is easier said than done, I think, for all of us. How do we give up things? How do we give up possessions? Maybe when we're older, it makes more sense. Try to tell that to children. Uh, that could be tricky, especially little ones might say, okay, I'll share, but as kids tend to get older, like in their adolescence, uh, they might hold back a little more. It may not make sense to them. Why do I have to give this up? That's why I'm all in favor of service projects, service, doing something that they see people who have less than they do to help them understand what they've been blessed with and to share our blessings. And of course, as the story goes, this rich man uh, just can't do it. He can't give up his things, although he'd love to. He wants to follow Jesus. He just can't do this one last thing for whatever reason. In a way, you feel sorry for him, but you can understand him. I can understand him. And that can be a struggle for many things. Not necessarily, Jesus goes further. It's not just material possessions he's telling us. He's telling us family members. That, you know, in other words, Jesus is more important than they are. And I don't know if he means to leave everyone. I think what he's saying is, you leave those behind who are getting in the way of your relationship with God. That if they're not helping you in your relationship with God, well, do we really want to be with them or bother with them? I don't know. But anything that is an obstacle, whether it's riches and possessions or whether it's people, if we're really going to be serious about following Jesus, we have to be Jesus-centered, Christocentric. That is the end all and be all. That's just who Jesus is. So the gospel this week is very challenging. And one of the questions, and you'll see when I write this in the gospel summary or the reading summary, it's a very interesting in the gospel. In verse 21, Jesus looks on this rich man with love. And that just stands out to me. And what was going on? Why would Jesus look at him with love? I think the man brought great promise, like for sure, he was almost a slam dunk. He was going to become a follower. And certainly not that Jesus didn't love him afterwards. Certainly, that's not how Jesus operates. Jesus operates, he loves everybody no matter what. But he really thought, I think he saw something in this man that was special, and he would have loved for him to have been a disciple. Um, so he looks at him with love. But as we know, and I'm wondering how disappointed Jesus might have been that he didn't follow him. That's true for us too, to always be aware of how we follow Jesus. Keep that in mind. Um, you know, that there are times in our lives we need to purge certain things. We need to purge certain relationships maybe that are toxic for us, that get in the way, to get rid of things we don't need, certainly. I'm going through a purging session of feelings of getting rid of stuff. I'm thinking about downsizing. And part of that is I have so much stuff. I think we all have stuff. I don't want it anymore. I just want to get rid of it. I want to live simply. So I started purging everything. I had some of the grandchildren come over during the summer, cleaned out closets, cleaned out pantries, cleaned out. And actually, when we cleaned out the pantry, I made them promise not to tell their parents how many expiration dates had expired on some of the things that I had in there. But I was at a point now. If you come near me, I might purge you too. So it's important for us to declutter. And the church offers us times of the year to do that, special times of the year. But that's something I think we should be aware of, and set our sights on wisdom, set our sights on what's really important, and you know how we do this is important as well when we're teaching. How do we explain this to older children? How do we explain this to the little ones? I think for little ones, talk about sharing. Um, some children share easily, some children don't. But sharing, I think when Jesus says it's a simplified way of saying, give up your possessions and follow me. A little heavy for little young people, but still something that we need to be aware of when we're teaching them. So again, welcome to this new year. Again, if you have any questions, you have any comments, please email me. But welcome to a new year of the honor and the privilege of handing on the faith to our younger disciples so that they too can follow Jesus. We all have so much to give. You live a certain amount of time, you have experience, you have so much to share. Um, you know, give yourself a nice pat on the back for doing this and for realizing that this is so important. This ministry is so important. The sharing, the relationships are so important. So take care. Have a good week. I hope it works out well for you, as you think about what possessions you might want to give up. And I will see you next week. Take care. God bless.